You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I am your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, we got a good one this is the Open Beta Eve episode, right? This is our last episode before Open Beta. We got a lot to talk about. They put out some interesting, I think, content around the game. New World's official YouTube channel. So we're going to talk about Tales from Aeternum, The Corrupted, which is full of talking points, dude. I'm very excited to discuss this with you. Me and you kind of have nerded out about the lore before, and there's a lot of interesting details in this particular episode. So we're going to dive into that. Also talk about the Legends of New World Chapter 2. That video came out as well this week. And finally, for our main topic, we are going to talk about holiday events. I teased, that in the Gamescom. So we're going to talk a little bit, hash that out, speculate on what we think makes good holiday content in MMOs. So first, Bordy, if you guys are listening to the podcast, you haven't left a 5-star rating or review on the podcasting platform that you're listening on, please do so. It helps us out as far as searchability goes. It helps us stay at the top of the directory so we can be available to everyone who wants to listen to a New World podcast. Also, guys, if you're watching the YouTube channel, hit the subscription button, the notification bell for more New World content like this, including more new episodes of New World to Go every Monday. You know what I'm saying? All right, dude. Well, that takes care of the housekeeping, Bordy. Why don't we hop right into our first piece of news?
Yeah, let's do it.
Bordy, you just talked during the bumper. Shame on you.
Yo, dude. Hey, man, I forgot.
Yeah, don't worry. I missed them last week, too. I'll just have to completely edit that part out. No problem at all. I'll have to edit this part out, too. The longer I talk, the more I'm going to have to edit. So I'm going to stop talking now and start talking about New World. And the first one is Legends of Aeternum, Bordy. Or Legends of New World, excuse me. So the first piece of content we got this week was a video, and I will say, like, the stylization of this video is top tier, dude. It's really, really cool, and it has some interesting stuff in here, Bordy. I think there was a little bit of a screenshot near the end of this bad boy that had a lot of people talking. I know we and you talked about a lot of the potential upcoming weapons on last episode, but we got one more even. And this was leaked by New World themselves, so I feel a lot better talking about this one. And that is the Greatsword, dude. At the very end of the video, and I'll try to pause it for all of our live viewers, it comes up of a gentleman holding a weapon that is near and dear to all of us, and that is the Greatsword, dude. A two-handed sword. Bordy, there are tons of weapon potentials, or weapons that they can potentially add to New World, but I don't think there's one that's been more requested than the Greatsword, dude.
Yeah, it's been highly requested, and for good reason. I mean, I think the Greatsword would be a staple of the game, no doubt. I want to speak on just the overall video for a second, though. They released the first part of this, the Legends of New World Part 1, and it was really, really cool. I love these videos a lot, man. One of my biggest qualms back whenever they were doing all the housing videos and all the kind of HGTV advertisements and whatever, those were kind of funny, but these are the types of advertisements that I like to see. These are the ones that get me going, and so I'm glad that they're continuing to pump out this kind of stuff. The last trailer they did, along with this new video, Legends of New World, I think they're spot on, man. I really like them a lot. But in terms of what they teased here, and I do think this is 100% a tease because they kind of like to throw these Easter eggs into their videos, I believe. And so this is something we're going to get in the game, hands down. We'll get a two-handed sword. Now, when we get a great sword, who knows, man? I have no idea when we'll get it. I think the Void Gauntlet is likely to come before the great sword, but I think the great sword will come at some point. Or maybe we'll get both of them at the same time in the same update at some point. Who knows? But I would think we'll get the great sword, man. It'll be a good addition to the two-handed weapons, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm with you 100%. The metallic look, like, you know what I mean? It just it looks like this big metallic piece of artwork, moving artwork. These videos do the Legends of New World series, and dude, it's sick looking. I really top tier content for the game, and like you said, it's cool to have content like this leading up to launch that gets you really like hyped up about the game, and then it doesn't like give you a little sense of shame that knowing that you watch HGTV with your wife all the time as well. So that's good. Dude, overall, I thought the video was cool. And again, I think the main thing that people drew from this video is that great axe tease or great sword tease.
Yeah.
Which, dude, he's literally right beside a one-handed sword user. So it's easy to see the comparison there. So they knew what they were doing. Let's not
Oh yeah.
Let's not question that.
Yeah. That is most definitely an Easter egg, without a doubt.
But again, I hope we see more on this Legends of New World series. And dude, it was a kind of a treat. I didn't expect that this week, and we got it. So it was cool to see. So, Bordy, let's move on to the next video that was put out this week. And it was the Tales from Aeternum, the Corrupted. Now, this is the last video in the series. This is the last family of enemies that they have to, make one of these videos about. And it is I think the probably main antagonist, or what we all seem to understand is the main antagonist in New World. And that is about the Corrupted. Now, Bordy, me and you have done a ton of lore videos over the Corrupted. It's been one of our, aside from the Ancients, I think, has been one of our most interested, or the topic we've shown the most interest in as far as, lore videos go. And this one didn't hold any punches. Actually put out a lot of information about questions that we potentially had or had drawn from the lore pages that we've been covering in that series. And dude, I'm excited to talk to you about this because me and you haven't talked about this yet, and we're gonna get to do it live on the podcast. So I'm excited about that. So first and foremost, they discussed the origin of the corruption. Now, me and you have made a video here recently about a particular experiment that the Ancients had done with lining up a bunch of small obelisks around a larger obelisk, which we know from the game to be the Shattered Obelisk. Now, Bordy, they mention in the video that the corruption is most likely a sword, or most likely derived from the Ancients. So, Bordy, what do you think, dude? I think we were pretty close to our initial assumption.
Yeah, I think so. I was whenever they talked about that in this video, I was pretty excited because whenever we did our video over the Corrupted, we were kind of digging through the lore pages trying to figure out how they were created and what happened to the corruption and how it came to be and all of that. And we stumbled upon some lore pages that talked about the Ancients like experimenting with the Azoth and then something going wrong with that ritual and then blowing up and creating the Shattered Obelisk, and then that being what created the corruption. And we kind of read into that thinking that that's what created the corruption. And at the beginning of this video, they started talking about how the corruption has been something that's been there all along and how people didn't know where it came from. And then they said specifically that the Ancients were experimenting with Azoth, and that's what caused the corruption. And it was like a pretty clear-cut thing. And so it made me very happy that we kind of read into that correctly in the video that we did. And it's pretty crazy. So apparently that is what happened, man. The Ancients were experimenting with Azoth. They screwed up somehow. They blew up the big obelisk in the middle, which is now the Shattered Obelisk. And whenever that happened, that somehow created corruption in Aeternum. I'm guessing that the Azoth corrupted some of the things that were around there, and then maybe that started to spread. We don't know that part yet, or exactly the science, I guess, if you want to call that, behind what caused the corruption to spawn after the big Azoth explosion. But it's interesting to see, man. I was very happy to hear that. It was pretty cool. I got really excited watching that video. Whenever they said that, I was like, oh man, we were spot on.
Yeah. So, for those of you who didn't watch the video, so basically what happened, the Ancients experimented with, Azoth and these spheres that are still kind of a big question mark in the lore, and driving the the nature or the power behind Azoth. Something went horribly wrong in this experiment, supposedly out of this ritual or whatever you want to call it, the corruption was spawned in. So I have some questions for you, Bordy.
Okay.
Do you think that the misuse of Azoth, like, maybe they were trying to use Azoth to gain more power, the ancients, do you think that, in some way was the cause of the corruption forming? Because, it does seem like, potentially the nature and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, the nature or the intent of that ritual was potentially evil, or some necessarily form of, like, rage or pride or greed or something like that.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know if the intent was exactly what caused it. I think the intent might have tied into it, though. I think what happened was they tried to they bit off a little more than they could chew, right? Like they tried to use more Azoth or something than they needed to. So the power was too much. It was too much for the obelisk to handle at once, and so it blew up and then created these corrupted beings. But I don't know that their intent was directly what caused it. I think their intent to power led to them trying to use more Azoth than intended, and that's what happened. That's my guess.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I disagree a little bit. I do think, and I'll tell you why as we move on, that I think it was the nature of the idea, because, it says the corruption is not from this earth. The video mentioned this, and it, that its only goal is to conquer, Aeternum and potentially humanity, and in that it feeds off of the human nature of rage, pride, and then greed. So it just obviously, kind of in the same vein as the 7 deadly sins, or something along that lines. Potentially, this corruption is something that, number one, not from this world, so maybe some sort of eternal corruption. And the thing is, about it was, what was interesting anyways, is the way that they put it is like it feeds off of these human traits, So, dude, I think that potentially this, obviously, we all know this is potentially from a very bad place, the corruption.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought there. That's an interesting tidbit. You might be onto something. I don't know.
Yeah. So here's another quick point. Isabella was referred to as a Tempest, which I thought was pretty interesting. I haven't heard her referred to that necessarily in any of these videos. I think she's probably one of the most popular enemies that we know so far, aside from maybe Captain Thorpe, which we interact with a lot during the main story. But it's interesting to hear her as described as the Tempest. Do you think that holds any meaning for the overall nature of Isabella and maybe what her intentions are?
I don't know. I didn't really read into that a whole lot, so I don't think so, man. I think that it was just an adjective to use to describe Isabella. Sure. So I don't know that there was much lore substance there.
Yeah. Well, here's something that I thought very interesting, because we've covered this a lot, and that is the storm outside of Aeternum and what its nature is. So they did mention that the storm wall might be from another source, not the corrupted. Because obviously the narrative or the narrator was like kind of drawing conclusions from the things that he knew, and he said it thought it could it most likely was from a different source. And here's a thought that I had was, could this be potentially Aeternum's response to the corruption, to keep the corruption there tied to the islands, to not get out into the rest of the world?
Yeah, I think it might have something to do with that, because remember in one of the lore episodes we did too, we talked about how people could at one point in time move back and forth from Aeternum. There wasn't the storm, there wasn't the wall there, and that gates keep people in. Once you went in. You could go to Aeternum and then you could leave, and that was a thing. We discovered that in lore pages, and I think it might have been the same episode as the Shattered Obelisk one with the ancients that we were just referring to. It seems like it was around that time anyway. So I think that after the Shattered Obelisk event happened, is something also triggered within Aeternum to keep the corrupted there. I do think that's probably the case. But it's odd that in the trailer you see the guy sitting there with the hood on, and he is corrupted because his eyes glow red. So I'm still not sure how he got back and forth if he's already corrupted. Maybe he was corrupted and then he made it out after the event, and before the wall went up. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery. We also covered something about Merlin and King Arthur, and I think there's some speculation that guy who goes out and brings adventurers to the island is potentially Merlin, the wizard that is just kind of trying to push everything to a head and maybe get the corruption off of it, Aeternum, maybe bringing people in that he might finally find someone that can help them get away from this island. Because here's the thing that and this is going a little bit off script here, but here's the thing. I think that I have this feeling that the corruption, we talk about the influence of Dark Souls, and games like that have like that, Diablo, that heaven and hell feel to it. And I just get this vibe that the corruption is from a very dark place like hell. And that is it has escaped finally from the greed of the ancients, or this heavenly, like this larger, heavenly ray. I mean, like, we've seen the ancient statues and they're massive, they're giants. And even the lore talks about them being giants and carrying these massive spears to this ritual. And I think the greed of this particular race is what's allowed a window for the corrupted to enter the world. And now that they're on Aeternum, Bordy, they want nothing more than to I guess, take over the world, so to say. So I think there's a lot of very, very interesting things they could do with the lore from that story, or from that particular standpoint. And dude, I'm excited to learn more about the corruption for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. It is an interesting topic, and there's still a lot of mystery there. So it will be exciting to see how all this plays out as the world of Aeternum evolves, and as we get in there on release to see what kind of mysteries we can uncover.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, the last thing we're going to mention about this video, they did mention Empress Zoe again, and and her. I think one of the main things that we kind of know about her is she's building up a fleet. Now, in the video, they just mentioned that the fleet was going to be used to control Aeternum. But I also do think that her intention potentially is to, because we remember from her lore story that she wanted to go back to her homeland and conquer that, because she was, her birthright was stolen from her. And so her initial intention was to come to the island to gain power and to go back and take it over. So we'll see, dude. I think she's going to tie in heavily to the story of the corruption and the potential spread of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think she's going to have a huge part to play in it. And you're right. Her backstory does talk about her wanting to go back and conquer not only Aeternum, but the entire world. She wants to go back and take over everything. So yeah, her intent was to come to Aeternum, you're right, and to get super powerful and then leave. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out long-term for the lore as well, to see if that ever comes to fruition, like if she actually ever tries to leave. And I don't know how that would tie in with the expedition that's out there right now, the Dynasty Shipyard, because you fight her there. So I'm not real sure what they would do with the expedition if she ever did actually leave. So who knows, man? It will be fun to see how everything plays out. I love the lore around this game so far. It's very mysterious. Not a lot is known, and I think that's by design up to this point.
Yeah, lots of open. It reminds me of Destiny's launch. A lot of the lore was only read. There wasn't a ton of it in the stories. You just know a little bit about a little bit, and I like that mystique, that mystery that can hopefully unfold over the the 10-year period, or however long period that New World is going to be playable, and I look forward to that, dude, for sure. All right, dude. Well, that about does it for the news we have. Let's go ahead and hop into our main topic. So we had a kind of a interesting chat during one of our company meetings. We've been setting up our company. Real quick, shout out to the Revenant. If you don't have a company already, we're filling up quickly. We're really, really close to being full. But we'd if you're interested in joining a company, we run ours through our Discord. The link will be in the show notes as well. And we had a great talk over there after our meeting about holiday events. Now, this kind of came up because Scot Lane, during the Gamescom event, he teased, the potential release of content around the holiday or whatever. And so, we got to talking about, successful implementation of holiday events and MMOs specifically, and what that looks like. So, Bordy, me and you tonight are going to talk a little bit about what makes a good holiday event or holiday events, why they're important in MMOs, and what we'd like to see from New World. So first and foremost, again, Bordy, let's talk about this. Me and you, we've played a ton of games, obviously, we've experienced a ton of holiday events, dude. So I'm gonna ask you the first opener question. It's a weighted one. Is what makes a good holiday event in an MMO?
So one of the things that I think makes a really good holiday event is the pretty obvious one, I think, is just the environment, the change in the aesthetics of the game. So whenever you walk into, in New World's case, walk into a settlement or, in other MMOs, a town or a city or some point of interest or something, that there are decorations in there that show you exactly what holiday you are supposed to be celebrating and exactly what holiday it is. The other thing that I think makes a very good holiday event are the rewards that you get, obviously, from participating in the holiday event. There should be some unique tasks or unique quests or something that you can go do to obtain unique items that are tied specifically to that holiday. Those are the things to me that I think make holiday events successful. The other thing is that you have a chance every single year to obtain some of the past holiday events. So it's kind of like if they give away a special mask or a special hat or something in this year, and then next year they give away a special hat plus a special whatever, you have a chance to obtain the one in the previous year in the next year. And maybe there's some kind of statute of limitations of that, or they bring back old stuff at some point or something. But I like the idea of being able to obtain those holiday events, because if you miss a holiday event because you're out of town or whatever, it's always nice to have a way to catch up with that holiday event. Some items I don't feel that way. Some items I think should be exclusive and all that jazz. But for holiday events specifically, I really feel like those should be obtainable by players for the long term. But the bigger thing to me is just the overall aesthetics of the holiday, man. Whenever you go into the game, you want to feel immersed and feel like, oh, we're celebrating this holiday right now. That's really cool to me.
Yeah, for sure. Along the lines of what you're saying, I think it is really important to the game's like life, the lifespan, to involve your players in something to look forward to during those specific seasons, because and I don't nothing's easy, but I think having content centered around, like, obviously the main holidays in the world, to keep players logging in, reasons, exclusive items, I think is really, really good, and something that I think people look forward to in a lot of games. I'm a big Destiny guy. I look forward to all of the events in there, and the chance to, like you said, get these exclusive holiday drops. And sometimes, like, maybe last year I missed one, so then you get to go back and maybe potentially get a chance to do that. Get a piece of exclusive gear or appearance items that you potentially miss. And dude, I think New World already has like a really good system in place for Twitch and the drops there. I would love to see some exclusive holiday stuff tied together with Twitch, and they have September, they have all of these other things that potentially could tie to New World. And dude, I think the more the merrier. When it comes to these events or holiday events that help the game feel alive and keep giving players a reason to log in.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of the things that does provide some longevity to a game, I think, for sure. I know that for the last MMO we were really heavily invested in was ESO, and I very much look forward to the holiday. Whatever, man. I very much looked forward. I know, to the holiday events in that game. I feel like they did a pretty good job with their holiday events in ESO, and they were a lot of fun. I remember going in there for Halloween specifically. I don't remember what they called it in ESO, but there was some really cool masks you could get. The events were pretty fun, and then they had kind of this ticket system that you could go get these mounts and all that for the other holiday events. I feel like they did a decent job with their holiday events, and I really looked forward to playing in those. It gave you something else to do. It was kind of fresh content, something to go grind for. Also, there were achievements tied to those, which I think is a very smart move. And hopefully New World will do the same, kind of have achievements for the people who like to go get achievements. That gives those people another reason to log in as well. So holiday events overall are a very good thing. And I was very happy to hear Scot Lane mention that was going to be a thing in New World.
Yes, very much so. Dude, I love the aesthetics of the game, and what better holiday, Bordy, to get things off the rip And Halloween, dude. All Hallows Eve. It's gonna be the first. It's gonna be the first holiday that New World will have. Hopefully, if they choose to use it. And dude, I'm looking forward to it because I think the game lends itself very well to Halloween aesthetics. So.
Yeah, it already has kind of a dark, spooky feel. So having that Halloween event could be awesome in New World, no doubt.
For sure. So here's the and I know we've kind of drawn this into our answers as far as what makes an event good, but what are your like overall opinions on like exclusive rewards? So potentially maybe, not just like something that comes around every Halloween or every Christmas that you have a chance to get, but what are your thoughts on like making, players log in a specific time frame to get a drop that never is or can't be obtained at any other time in the game, whether it be next year or 2 years from now or whenever. What is your thoughts on like exclusive drops for these Halloween or holiday type events?
I don't know, man. I don't think I really like that, to be honest with you, specifically for holiday events, tying those exclusive drops specifically to holiday events. I don't know that I really like that very much. I think there is something to be said for players that have exclusive drops from other things, but I'm not so sure holiday events would be the time to do it. I would be very frustrated if like 1 year I had to go out of town. Because here's the deal, man. The reason I say it is because for holidays, a lot of people go out of town. A lot of people are doing other things. They're not able to log in for X amount of time or log in every single day during the holiday event to gather X amount of things or whatever. So it's like, man, you want to kind of make those available through the other holidays too, or for the next year too, so that people that didn't get to participate in the first year have a chance to do it next year. It's just kind of my general opinion. I think it's very off-putting if I'm out of town doing real life stuff and I can't log in because it is holiday. I'm trying to spend time with the family and then I can't get that drop in a game that I really want to get the drop in. It's kind of off-putting to me.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe that says more about the length of the event than the actual,
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it is important to not just tie these around like a week or something, but to have them like a month-long event, right? And I think that's reasonable. I think some MMOs definitely make, because there's a lot of work done to like kind of redesign these towns or player hubs. And so maybe that does say something to our initial question, which is like, make them long enough for people to enjoy and give everybody an opportunity if the drops are exclusive. To get an opportunity to play the game and to get those drops.
Yeah.
One thing I don't like is daily logins when it comes around with like rewards like that, exclusive rewards, and sometimes those are tied to holidays. The idea that you have to log in every day for 28 days to get something, that's something that I do not like or enjoy, and I know ESO is kind of big on that, and BDO has been big on that as well in the past. What are your thoughts on like those daily login rewards when tied to a holiday event or maybe just in general as well?
I'm not a fan, especially for holiday events, because like I said before, holiday events, I know I personally can't log in every day during those holiday events. I have a lot of other stuff going on, and I would imagine most other people do too. So you're not going to be able to log in every day. And so to gate it behind something like that would be absurd during a holiday, in my opinion. I think that's bad game design. And then the other, like just general daily login rewards, I don't like those either. I feel like those are very gimmicky. I think we've talked about this a very, very long time on one of these episodes at some point or another. I think it's come up.
It might have even been from our Elder Scrolls podcast. Honestly, we may on a rant about that then.
Yeah, maybe so. I feel like that's a gimmicky thing to do to get players to log into the game. Just make the game really good and players are going to log in anyway. Like, what good does it do? I guess it boosts their metrics if somebody logs in for 10 seconds to show that they logged in to get their daily login reward. I'm not a fan of that though. Because here's what I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of turning a video game into a job. And whenever you log in for the sake of logging in to get a reward, that begins to feel more like a job than enjoyment and and a hobby. And I don't want my hobby to turn into what feels like work, like it's not what I want to do. I want to log in and enjoy the game. I don't want to log in for the sake of logging in to get something that I think I'm going to miss out on.
Yeah. And that's, I think that is another really good point. being felt like you're being forced to play the game. Now it gets like a little blurry, I think, around those edges, because obviously, like you know, you're not forced to do anything. You're not forced to log in to do the holiday events, you know. But one of the things that I did, like, I honestly have been a source of frustration for a long time for me, and I played a lot of both Black Desert Online and ESO, is the thought that having to log in every day. You know what I mean? Like, if I want to take one day off and go play another game, I shouldn't be punished, you know, since instead of spending, 200 hours that month in the game, I only spent like 198 hours in the month. You know what I mean? It's like you're being punished for something that's kind of ridiculous. So daily logins in specific to the holiday events, that's what we're talking about. I don't enjoy. I don't think, like you said, I think they're more gimmicky than anything when it comes to player retention, and sometimes can be a negative thing, because eventually that drives people to be like, you know, I forget this. I don't want to try to keep up with this. I don't, you know, especially completionist boardy people that gotta have everything. That can be a real turnoff for them when they, you know, potentially miss a day because they're sick or something like that. And
I think a lot of MMO players fall into that category.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So last thing is exclusive activities. Now, I think this is important, not just making the world look different, but having like a little bit of a unique activity to do during the event that's different, maybe a different style of gameplay that you don't get to experience in the game normally. Having something like that linked to a holiday event, I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree with that without a doubt. I think having exclusive events for that holiday is exactly one of the things you would want to have during a holiday event. That gives somebody a reason to log in to go actually play the game.
It's like the opposite of a daily
amount of time. Because to me, that's good game design. You give somebody a reason. It's actual content to go play through versus just logging in to get something handed to you. Like, no, man, I want to log in and play and actually go have fun. I play the game to have fun, you know, and that's what I want to do. I want an event out there for me that's different than what I usually participate in the game. Like, and that's the only time you can go do that particular event is during that holiday. That's something I would want to log in to go do without a doubt. So I think that exclusive activities during the holidays is great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then sorry.
Also gives you a chance to go earn the reward. Like, there should be a reward tied to that exclusive event. And then if you can get the event done in a couple of play sessions, then great. Or however long then you get your reward there versus having to log in every day. So if you can't log in for a few days or whatever, you can still do the event and get your reward type of thing, you know?
For sure. All right, man. Well, can you think of anything else as far as holiday events go that's worth discussing? I think it's been a good conversation, and hopefully you guys will carry on the conversation in the comments on the YouTube channel as well, just to kind of talk about what makes a good holiday event or what will make a good holiday event in New World.
Yeah.
All right, Bordy. Well, that about does it for our main topic. Let's hop right over to the company of the week.
I messed it up, Red.
You son of a gun.
I forgot, man. I was going right in there, man.
Yeah, go ahead. Continue.
All right. So the company of the week is the Goonies. The region NA server is Xanadu. It's an NAE server. That's where they play during the beta. I'm assuming that's going to be the same server list. I would assume we're going to have the same server list on launch. Faction Syndicate. Language is English. Focus is PVX. They are currently recruiting. So it says, come join the Goonies, finding treasure and saving a town, because it's our time in here. I like that, dude. Finding treasure and saving a town. The Goonies are an 18-plus syndicate group who play on the Xanadu server in NA East. We started out as a very small group of close friends, and then they decided to let all who wanted a chill place to hang out and enjoy Aeternum join in on the fun. They're definitely not hardcore. They're a very laid back group who enjoy having fun. No hour commitments, since most everyone there has a full-time job and families. They have waited for New World for what seems like an eternity. Yeah, join the club. We all have it. It sucks. We're ready for it to come out.
3 weeks, dude.
Beta, now
3 weeks.
I know, man. It says they are ready to get into Aeternum. And then they have a blurb here about what they're looking for a company member. You guys can go check that out. All their information will be linked in the descriptions everywhere this podcast can be found. Sounds like a cool group to be a part of, man. If you are not a person who is trying to be incredibly hardcore about the game and you just want a great group of people to play with, here you go, man. We've seen companies of all ranges, and most people really want to push the game to the limits. The Goonies are not. They're kind of a casual guild, man. They're not hardcore. They just want to chill and enjoy the game. And so if that's you, then go check them out.
I'm sure there's a ton of people that are interested in enjoying New World that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you to the Goonies for creating your your New World fans account and advertising or choosing to advertise your company over there. We really appreciate it. And special thanks to all our Patreon, who obviously you guys get your little hype in the end of the video. So Bordy, it's been a fun one, man. Next time we're talking, dude, we'll have played New World again, which is always exciting. So guys, don't forget, the open beta starts September 9th, which is a Thursday. We confirmed that before, to the Saturday on the 11th. So guys, if you're if you're looking to try it out, if you're on the fence, which is maybe you just stumbled upon this podcast, and maybe you were looking for a history lesson, instead you got a gaming podcast. If you want to try out this game, it's available free this week to play. So go over to Steam and download it and try it out, because it's a great one.
It's from the 9th to the 12th.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. 9th to the 12th. I'll edit it out. No big deal, dude. I'm gonna leave all this in. Actually, everybody's got to know, that occasionally we flub up, and by occasionally I mean like literally every episode. So, our hardcore listeners are used to it. Bordy, it's been a fun one. Thank you so much for watching and listening, guys. We really appreciate it. And we will see you in the next episode of New World to Go.